really important session. I'm Eva Zabé. I lead a coalition called Business for Nature. And today we're going to be talking about nature-positive strategies and what your sector-specific priorities should be. So this session is really a working session. We're going to get into a lot of the details on your breakouts. We're going to start off with some opening remarks by yours truly, André Hoffmann. And then he's going to have to think of something to contribute to this very action-oriented conversation, very briefly. We'll have a quick panel, and then we will go into the discussion tables. So you may have heard some stats, but just to set the scene and to make sure that you all know that on your tables, you each have something like this. So do have a look at it. There's a lot of information in here about the Nature Strategy Handbook that is a collective resource, and the specific sector actions that a collective effort, Business for Nature, World Business Council for Sustainable Development, World Economic Forum, and many of our partners all work together to unify, simplify, converge what specifically companies should be doing to halt and reverse nature loss by 2030, what their contribution should be. Because we cannot be paralyzed by the complexity, and we cannot spend all of our resources doing the prep work and not having any left for doing the action. And the actions are actually quite straightforward, and I'm sure many of you in the room are already taking action. So, quick show of hands as you all wake up a little bit. Who here has heard of the high-level actions: assess, commit, transform, and disclose? Fantastic. So a few of you will be new to this. These are some high-level actions that, again, collectively we came together, also with SBTN, TNFD, to align on what companies from all sectors can do. These are also the basis for the Nature Strategy Handbook that you can all access in multiple languages. They're also what underpin the sector actions I just mentioned. And another question, who here has heard of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, the CBD's COP16 conference happening in October? Fantastic. So we have a really important milestone this year coming up in October that we can all then help to scale and speed up what we are all doing, each and every one of you are doing, towards that collective milestone. So with that, I'm really delighted to briefly introduce André Hoffmann for some opening remarks. Over to you, André. Clap, clap, clap.
Thank you very much, and sorry to those of you who have listened to me every day. This is really not the intention of this tent. The intent part of the SDG tent is to try to bring together people to sort of accelerate sustainability solution. And we've done a lot of time, we spent a lot of time over the last couple of years talking about the dangers. Now it's time to look at solution. And that particular one, you know, sorry, the title has changed, but the idea that we are here in order to understand what it is we can do practically is important. ACT and then disclose strikes me as being a way of moving forward in that agenda. And the report released a couple of weeks ago, now it's time for nature, should give us an opportunity to build nature into our different strategy. So delighted to see that we're going from thinking to acting, and delighted to see that we have opportunities from businesses to come and do something to move forward into this nature economy we all wish. And thank you very much for getting up on the 4th day of Davos at such an early time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, André. Thank you, André, for your continuous support. You're an absolute hero. And thank you also for mentioning the Now for Nature campaign, which is something we hope all of you will be part of. So as we move into some of the more detail, let's already kick off with a panel. I'd love all the panelists to come up, please, already on stage, and which will be moderated by Eileen Lee from the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, also a force for nature and a hero of nature who's been pushing this agenda in the business community for many years. So thank you, Eileen. And I'll let you introduce this fantastic panel. I should say, this session's engagement of leaders, you will see the program is outstanding. Your discussion group leads, as well as these panelists, are absolutely phenomenal. Over to you, Eileen.
Okay, Ava, is this working? Great. Good morning, everybody. So consistent with maybe the urgency we face in dealing with the interlinked crises of climate and nature, we are going to have a pretty fast-paced panel here today. And I have to say I was really encouraged to see all this group assembled in this room, because I think when I look at what gives me optimism that we can actually get a handle on these things in time, it is that business, right, has it within its ability to really move on these things at a pace that frankly is different than where maybe policy setters and others will be. But with that, I'm going to move us right into the panel so that we can talk a bit about how folks are, as leaders, thinking about the priorities for their sectors. I'm going to start with Nick Studer, the president and CEO of the Oliver Wyman Group and the vice chair of Marsh McLennan. Good morning.
Morning.
Nick, so you are obviously with a leading professional services and consulting firm, and you're supporting a lot of initial action towards the nature positive agenda. What are you seeing from your clients on this topic?
I mean, I think we have a very tangible statistic in that we had to add 2 tables at the back of the room when everyone turned up. The dropout rate for this session has been incredibly low. And we are seeing an enormous increase in focus on nature. You just have to look at the 340 or so early adopters of the Task Force for Nature on Financial Disclosure, the various actions by central banks focusing on the risks associated with this. But last time we looked at the data last year with the CDP, only, I think, 32% of financial institutions actually had in place governance, up to the governance level, a focus on nature, as opposed to, say, 95 with a focus on climate. And similar metrics across non-financial companies as well. So to my mind, it's very, very much a work in progress.
So it sounds like there's interest, but still a lot to do for implementation. What do you see as the key challenges and barriers for these companies?
I mean, I think there are 3. Economics. There is a first mover disadvantage in some areas. It is more expensive sometimes, and many companies have found that. But I think secondly, just an understanding. Many firms have worked hard and are still working hard around climate and around carbon. Relatively few have drawn the links into nature, which I think are there to be drawn. So they don't necessarily have the taxonomies. The other thing is that the focus on carbon is kind of universal or global, whereas nature actually requires local knowledge and understanding, and that is a significant data gap. And then thirdly, I would say resources. Just trying to make sure, I think the TNFD was very sensible in aligning its structures with the TCFD and the ISSB, but the resources required are significant. They're adding to teams that have grown substantially over recent years. And again, because nature is more local, it's quite distributed. So I think those are the 3 biggest gaps that we need to help companies close.
Thank you, Nick. So speaking of first movers, I'm going to turn now to you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Lu Mingfeng is the CEO of the Mengniu Group out of China, where you are really one of the leading players in sustainability and nature protection. Your company has taken ownership of your nature footprint, and you've really thought, I think, about the priorities for the food and beverage sector as a dairy producer. Could you talk a bit about what you see as the key things that are priorities for the Mengniu Group?
Thank you. Very happy to be here because we coming from a private sector. We are actually probably much more connected scenes on nature. Obviously, CO2 is one of the big challenge on the scope 3. For me, I think we actually are roughly doing almost 10 billion liter of milk each year in terms of collecting and serving more than 93% of the families in China with scale. So I think my challenge is that can we do that at scale and at cost, affordable, accessible nutrition? Because we all know milk comes with a good contribution to the nutrition. And when you look at countries like China, it's growing its need on the protein side, coming from really is mainly their food profile. Now, high quality protein become a very important part of the daily intake. And what we need to do is really serving them with the highest quality, low carbon footprint, and really at scale and every day. So it's like 10 million ton each year we are serving, but how can we do that we take really a very practical approach. I think the first thing we really do is to do a full assessment on our entire supply chain on exactly where can we do and what are the quick wins in order to catch up. And obviously we work with a lot of the global partners on that as well, on technology. My interpretation on what we can do is in three areas. The first one is data-driven, highly efficient supply chain. To give a simple example, that we are sitting with bunch of data all the way from farm and to the retail side on consumer. For example, the product, the milk come out, it almost take like a 4.5 times of transporting before they reach the home of a consumer. Just taking that, we can reduce at least 1. To go down to 3.5, it's already a big reduction on carbon footprint. That's just one example, but we did a lot of assessment on every single opportunities that exist, but as I said, data-driven. Second is technology. Basically, green energy we are really moving fast. Today, we have 40% of our plant are already using 100% green energy. Now, obviously, because also China have invested huge amount of infrastructure into green energy, right? And so that's the second one. And third, I think it's important is to really work with everybody along our supply chain with transparency, so that we can really get opportunities, not the blocks, but more the opportunity to share these data and do things we think that are not necessary and repeating in every single of the different part of our supply chain. So maybe I stop by here just to give a little bit what we are doing here in the case of Mengniu.
Thank you, Jeffrey. You've really, I think, laid out a clear vision and roadmap for Mengniu. I'm curious, on your perspective, what are you seeing among your peer companies in China? Is there this same level of awareness of nature and biodiversity?
I have to be very honest that it is not really at the same level in terms of understanding and awareness. But I think what we need to do, we need to be a pioneer in terms of thinking and also acting and putting best practices for the entire industry, for our peers. And actually, to be honest, one of the plants we did in the west part of China, it's a total smart factory that we reduced by 40% if you talk about CO2 per kilo of milk in terms of production. But the entire setup we have shared free to all the industry in terms of how we set up the plant, we do energy, we do data, everything we actually shared among the industry. So that people can go to our plant and get all these for free. Even the software side, we develop ourselves for free. So I think it's important that there has to be someone to do things, getting best practice, are willing to share. So and I would say my peers in China, they are follow very quickly. One thing I like about China is once we decide, we really go. And we go fast. So I think I'm very optimistic on the industry and also the way we are doing in that direction.
Thank you. Thank you for leading the way. And now I'm going to turn to Ellen Jakowski, who's the Chief Sustainability Officer for MasterCard International, which has also been a pathbreaker in the financial services sector on Nature Positive. Ellen, if you could talk with us a bit about what role you see financial services players like MasterCard playing in this nature-focused financial space.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me for this discussion. So, MasterCard, who are we? We are a payments network. So our reach is quite substantial. We have over 90 million merchants on our network, 20,000 banking partners, and over 3 billion cards in circulation. So when you think about the 8 billion people on the planet, and we have 3 billion cards, we can see a lot of consumption. And we also are in a unique position to provide opportunities for action. So we have a sustainable consumption strategy. That is really at the core of what we can offer in terms of climate solutions, helping to transition consumption to be more sustainable. The strategy is inspire people to want to choose a more sustainable product or service, inform them of the right data at the right moment in the purchasing process so they can make a more sustainable choice. They know what is more sustainable. And then the third pillar is engage, provide opportunities for action. And this is really where our connection with nature comes in providing action opportunities for our cardholders as well as our merchants. So we have a program called the Priceless Planet Coalition. The word coalition is very important. We have over 100 partners across our value chain, including many of our largest merchants and many of our largest issuers. And what that does is it's an opportunity to be a part of restoring 100 million trees. So we've done things in an innovative way, like roundup campaigns with some of the merchants. So Carrefour is a great example of you're in the grocery store and you go to checkout and you can now donate and take action for nature. We also have other opportunities with our issuers where they can do corporate donations. There's probably about 4 or 5 different ways that we've structured this coalition and how you can drive impact. We now have over 20 projects across many geographies following the science of Johan Rockström as the Chief Climate Officer of Conservation International. They're one of our implementing partners along with World Resources Institute. So inspire, inform, enable. How do we create more opportunities for everyone across our vast value chain to take action for nature?
I'm glad you mentioned Priceless Planet, right? Having seen the work in action on the ground in many places, it really is an impressive driver of action where it matters. For a company like MasterCard that really doesn't have, I guess, dependence on nature as a core materiality in your business model, what was the case for doing this, right? What was the motivation? How did you make the case to support something like Priceless Planet?
Well, it goes back to this strategy, right? How do we enable this new market for sustainable consumption? And how do we offer action that we know increasingly those across the value chain want to take? So people, want to restore nature. People want to plant trees. They want to enjoy biodiversity and ensure that continues and is preserved. So that was really at the core of why it made sense for us to offer this opportunity for, again, the merchants, the issuers, as well as all of our cardholders.
Great, thank you. And now I'm going to turn to Mathieu Chabran, the co-founder of Tico Capital, which is an innovative asset manager working in this space. From your experience, does nature positive always involve trade-offs, right, from a business model perspective? Can you give some examples of the investment strategies that you really see as having the positive impacts that you want to see in this space?
Yeah, thanks, Ellen, and thanks. My panelists here, Nick, I would, say, funding, Jeffrey, I would say, scale and sustainability, consumption, right? And so since here, maybe today I can give you a perspective from the asset manager, and since, what we do is relatively basic, it's to take real savings with insurance companies, with pension funds, trying to convert that and to invest that into the real economy. I hope that 2024 will not be remembered, in the finance industry as the year of the Bitcoin ETF. I don't think that, matters that much, given, the amount of capital that is required and needed to effectively reach the goals that, we are setting around the nature, the biodiversity, that today are assessed to be $1 trillion per annum until 2030. So I think that private capital had a very significant role to play, and coming from Europe, maybe a little bit of the legacy. We're talking about Carrefour, which is, interesting as well. There's been a leading effort from the investors, the institutional investors, to effectively don't go into funding these initiative. And when I say initiative, from our standpoint, it means young startup, family-owned businesses pivoting into some nature-focused sustainability, biodiversity, energy transition, efficiency, and there is some capital required. The banking market, can play part of that, but those entrepreneurs, those families, they don't want to sell their business. They need some capital to pivot the business. And that's where the asset managers and, at TKO, we've been trying to be at the forefront of that. Our first energy transition fund goes back, 2017. We're now, deploying a regenerative agriculture as well with our partner Unilever. And we see that it's relatively basics, but at times, when it comes to resources, people lose sight of what is available, and that's what it takes to effectively, direct into this real impactful economy. This is where asset manager can play this role.
Thank you. And what advice do you have for institutional investors, right? You obviously work with a lot of them who are looking to use their investment decisions to drive nature positive change.
Well, my first reaction is that it's not a philanthropic decision. I mean, we all have fiduciary duties, and there is a return on investment, which is obviously extra financial, but which is financial. Because today, if you don't, and speaking about institutional investors, in the US, you would appreciate that, public pension funds, endowments, today there is a real imperative to deploy, to those strategies. And as much as I will leave the ESG bashing, aside, there's been plenty of discussion, over the past few days. But today, all the stakeholders, you cannot get away with all your stakeholders. So with your investors, with your partners, banks, others, with your employees. Your employees are driving that. That's very interesting to see how our employees, the people on the other side, at the institutional level, there is an ask for that. So there is no way, in my view, to get away, and institutional investors today, and that's why when we're talking about $1 trillion, which seems as a very high number, it takes very little to move the needle.
Thank you. It strikes me just listening to all of you that what's exciting about this is we've got both the financial institutions representing in a way that, and the real economy companies in a way that we can unleash a virtuous cycle, right? We've got the financial incentives maybe helping to smooth the transition, and then we've got companies really having clear ideas about how they can use their capital. Maybe just to open up with one last question to any of you who want to answer, right? For the financial institutions, what else do you think, right? What are the things that we can do to help really drive this transition? What are you looking for from companies, right, in order to be able to do that? And for companies, what do you need from financial institutions in order to be able to make progress at a faster pace? Any of you who are interested?
I think it was Bill Winters who said we need a deal team for the planet. And I think for companies, there are so many parts of the capital structure. There are so many different investors, funders, financiers, and it's still quite a patchwork. And we see companies that are trying to create new solutions, finding it hard to find funding. We also find companies who are trying to go on a transition, finding it hard to find funding. So for me, it's the basic infrastructure that's required at the birth of any major industry. It's about data, it's about transparency, it's about governance, and frankly, the frameworks which were commended to us earlier on and in the reports, which I can commend to you. Simple steps for action, which will allow the financial services industry and the rest of the economy to interact.
Well, I think, I was in one of the panel actually 2 days ago among all the companies, basically private sectors, talking about really the economics and also the cost. At the end of the day, it comes with a cost, right? And then who's going to pay that cost? Is that a consumer? Is that paid by a upstream farmers, or it's a manufacturer? At the end of the day, it's a cost. So I think it's a joint effort. You cannot ask today consumer to really pay a price that you can really, do the job. So I think it's both, and we have to do our job And we also have to bring that level of awareness to consumer, to people who are really, buying the product every day. So it's a joint effort. I don't see a simple solution saying that, okay, there will be capital, probably no return. It's impossible. I think for us, we find our way through gain efficiency to get the cost so that we can reinvest into the initiatives that drive the nature. On the consumer side, we need to bring much more awareness, and even printing today a try on the label to indicate how much reduction we can see on a per pack of product. We have to talk to the farmer by doing these, what kind of a benefit you will get. Because to them it's even more difficult because we are dealing with millions of farmers, right? You ask them to say how they're gonna invest more and coming with the nature initiative, it's a lot difficult. Many of them are just families. So that's probably my interpretation, and I think that's the reason why this platform or these is so valuable, because we have to bring everybody into the same table and to talk about how we can really find those solutions.
Maybe just to add to that, I mean, our experience in the recent year has been that corporate entrepreneurs and capital providers, if you take asset managers, have been working much closer than in the past. It used to be, on the other side of the table. Now it's side by side, to the point that corporates are now, big investors in some of those initiatives, as if we're trying to mutualize, part of the solution, to be developed and promoted. And that's a very interesting step in the structure of the ecosystem, where asset owners, asset allocators, entrepreneurs, corporates are working in a much more integrated way.
Thank you. Well, I think we're almost right on time. Maybe the last thing that I'll just close with, I think you all have framed for us clearly the collective action problem in front of us. I think we're at this point as this nature positive transition starts to take place, where just being able to signal with some clarity, right, the priorities, the direction where we want to move is going to be so powerful in terms of galvanizing the action we need. So with that, I think we're going to turn to the next part of this. And with thank you to
I'm
all
also,
the
Eileen, I'll just also let Ellen, if you wanted to also reflect just 30 seconds, because I realized you didn't give your last reaction.
Well, I mean, I think the point that you just made around, finding common ground of what we're trying to achieve together. I think as everybody, each organization is creating their own plans. We all have our own targets. Where do we find the synergies to act together? And I think that's one of the reasons why, programs like our Priceless Planet Coalition are getting so much traction, is because it's providing a solution that meets a lot of organizations' needs. So I think that is a great way forward, and we're going to continue to see more of that.
Fantastic. Eileen, panelists, outstanding. Big round of applause. Thank you so much. It's amazing. So brilliant. Wow. I found that really helpful. What about you? Yeah? Good nods. Thank you. Outstanding. So now we're going to get into the rest of the room. And to kick that off, we're going to do some interactive polling just to set the scene. So please, can you get out your phones and scan this code? If you are blocked in any way, I think there's also a version of it in your little your handouts. So if you can all go on there and let me know, give me some thumbs up when you're on, please. Yeah, thumbs up, some good thumbs up, that's great. I'll wait for a few more, yeah, thumbs up there. So I'll just give everyone a minute. And this is just some for interactive voting. Now, we have a couple of questions. The questions are really for the companies and the financial institutions in the room. So to keep things exciting for those who are not representing companies or financial institutions, what I'd like you to do is, on a piece of paper or on your phone, just jot down what you think the answers are going to be. And whoever gets closest is going to get a prize, first and second prize. So make sure that afterwards you can guess what you think the answer is going to be, to get a sense if you know this room and can expect and can guess what the answer is going to be. So first question, if you've got it. Has everyone got it? Great. Have you conducted, or are you planning to conduct in the next 2 years, a materiality assessment for nature for your company? It's the final answer that I'm looking for those who are estimating. Okay, so I can't tell how many people have voted yet, but that is a very clear indication, and I doubt that it will go the other way. So massive, massive majority. And then the second question is, and Erin, you'll like this one, Erin Billman in the back there leading SBTN. Will you be ready to start piloting science-based targets for nature in the next 2 years once the full guidance is ready? Erin, we may need a reaction from you afterwards. Can we, do we have any sense of how many people have voted, please? Oh, Natasha in the back from Oliver Wyman. Absolutely fantastic leadership there. You can wave, Natasha. Everyone knows who you are. Supporting the World Economic Forum in this endeavor. All right, so why don't I just say, let's stop there. We get a good sense. And so for the prizes, so did anyone get, how close did anyone get from who doesn't represent a business or FI who wants a prize? Did anyone guess right for this SBTN one? Who got 78% yes? 5% difference? Oh, John. Oh, you got 2 percentage point difference, John? You said 80, so you're both on 2%. Okay, anyone better? Good. Okay, we've got our 2 winners. I will give you the prize afterwards. Thank you. So we will then move on to the breakout sessions. And what I'm going to do, because again, unbelievable leadership in this room. We have a number of tables with discussion leads covering the different sectors that we've all been working on. And I'm going to just introduce the leaders of your discussion table so that you in the room have a sense of who's around these tables. And if you can each just stand up, I'll go around and introduce you. So we have on agriculture, food and fiber, Natasha Santos from Bayer, and we'll give a round of applause. On 2, here we are. Oh, we need more people in the front here. We have on built environment, cement and concrete and manufacturing, Noleg Forrest from Holcim. And I see there are a few people in the back. Please come to this table. There are a few seats, so come along. Number 3 was where we are. Here we have extractives, mining metals, as well as chemicals. Jeff Hanman from Tech Resources. Number 4, consumer goods, household and personal care products. Denis Geoffroy from L'Occitane Group. Number 5, table 5, energy and utilities, Vaishali Sinha from Renew Power. 6, here we have financial services, Miriam Staub-Bissang, the CEO of BlackRock Asset Management in Switzerland. Sorry. 7, we have so many financial services. So he's not here. Barry Martin. Aha. So someone else is going to have to take the lead there. Nick, you're on this table. Fantastic. Another financial services, you've all heard from Nick, who's doing amazing leadership at Oliver Wyman. Thank you so much. Now 8. Is this 8? Yes. Investors and philanthropy. Franziska, yes. Franziska Zimmerman from Temasek. Table 9 here is on blue economy. Carl-Johan Hellner from Stenaline Group. Thank you so much. And now we have some cross-sector tables. 11, Emily. Oh, you're on that one. All right. Oh, yes, you've split. So here on this table, we have John Reves from WBCSD. On this table is Marco Lambertini, who is the Nature Positive Initiative convener. Erin Billman, stand up, SBTN. Emily McKenzie, TNFD. Amazing, fantastic. Have I missed anyone? Natasha, no. Okay, so the question that we have as you go into your breakouts is really, well, what do we need to do more of? What is necessary now to drive action, strategies, not only across in your company, but across the broader business community. I think we already heard at the panel, there's that two prongs. There's, in my company, what can do, but then to really scale and speed up, it's going to have to be broader. In your discussions, you're going to come up with loads of amazing ideas, I know. And then using this app, your discussion leads will select up to 3 top, very specific actions that will get voted onto the polling, and all of you will be able to upvote afterwards. So here we go. We're using the interactive system. Is everyone clear on what we're discussing? Yeah? So 25 minutes, and then we look forward to hearing all of your fantastic solutions moving forward. Thank you so much. Hello, hello. As you will notice, your takeaways are being fed into the system. So please continue to add your final actions and solutions that you've been discussing into Poll Everywhere. Okay, may I, Noleg? Can I put that? Oh, perfect. I just want to get a sense from the different discussion leads if you're all done. Yes, thumbs up in the back. Yes. No, not yet. John, Reva, yeah. Excellent. All these thumbs up. Brilliant. So we want to do this in a bit of a democratic way, given the number of elections going on this year. So you're all actually allowed to upvote your favorite actions and solutions, and it's an opportunity for you to read what everyone else has done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a few minutes for you all on Poll Everywhere to scan through, upvote. Apparently there's downvote, which I think is actually not very nice, so you can do it if you want, but we'll know who you are. So yeah, no, but upvote. And then in a few minutes, we will get the top voters to share their reflections directly from the floor. So I'll just give you a few minutes to upvote. We don't have a timer, but maybe we can place a little bit of music in the background as we give you a couple minutes. Thank you. Yeah, great. Oh, perfect.
If you're interested.
Yeah. Thank you, yes. But I get confused because it's going up. I saw it at one point, Can we vote? Can we vote? Yes? And Biodiversity Credits is in the lead. Pain in the Pocket is catching up. Level Playing Field lagging behind. Sorry. Oh.
Can we get back to the link?
Oh, it should be the same thing. It doesn't work?
No, it's not
Are you on
Maybe I'll try my other
Wi-Fi? Sorry. Pain in the Pocket is overtaken. Increased transparency. Is it working? Some people are having issues with the app? No? Is it working for you guys? Oh, okay, good. Increased transparency has overtaken. Oh, great. You can drop me a line. Can I take it back then? If you've done it? Okay,
yes.
Great. Thank you
Because
so
I'm
much.
always mindful of like all the cards that you're
I
filling
know.
up, and then you just
Yeah.
like
Well,
you don't
if
even
you
have the
have
energy
it,
to
but
go
then
through it. Yeah.
I know. Sometimes you forget then.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
And so you said you're with?
With the global shapers, so the
Global
UK
Shaper. Okay, great. Let's continue the discussion then and see where we're at the top. So if I can get your attention, please, because we're going to hear from the floor. 1 minute. Natasha says 1 minute. Yeah? Okay, I've got the direction from Natasha. We can cut the music. Thank you. So, maybe if we can all just come back to the whole group, please. Top of the pops, increased transparency and data quality to nature cost. I can tell that every word there was carefully thought through. Who put that? Which table does that come from? Yes? Ah, Miriam, perfect. So please expand and share with everyone. And can I get everyone's attention, please? Please, may I get everyone's attention? Thank you, Miriam.
No, I think we were lucky to have experts from UBS's finance team, CFO team at the desk, who told us how they actually measure the impact of their investments, their loan books, but their investments overall on nature. This, along the principle of what gets measured gets managed. And I could contribute from a BlackRock perspective that when we engage with the companies we invest in, we now ask for nature impact disclosure. So we expect companies to eventually assume TNFD reporting and report on the impacts and the risks and the measures companies are taking. So this is what we mean. We need more transparency. We need better data quality, so reporting gets better.
Fantastic. Round of thank you so much. And I've also heard, that's excellent, and also heard in many discussions we need financial grade data at some point as well that you can actually use. Anyone else want to quickly react a little bit more? As you said, it was from the discussion. Anything to add?
I would just add that indeed. So I'm from that team within the UBS CFO space. I would just add that this is one key way, in our view, to scale the solutions to the crisis that we're facing, and yes, it's for us one key way to steer those financial flows to actually what's needed. So.
Thank you so much. And a massive influence that you do have in those day-to-day discussions about embedding in the mainstream investment decisions. Also linked to the value of nature, though, is number 2, pain in the pocket, internalizing externalities. Who put that in? Ah, it goes together.
Indeed, it goes together, and I can tell you the third one is from us as well. But I will hand over to David, who we identified as the marketeer of our group, who came with pain in the pocket, and I said, if that comes up, you will speak.
Well, thank you, Miriam. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. It's really nice to be part of the table discussions. Yeah, we discover pain in the pocket. I think when you look at the core of who we are, we're all very simple biological beings, and in order to change something, I think we need to feel that pain. And we were talking a lot about, let's say, top-down pain, regulatory subsidies, taxes, etc. That's more systemic change, systemic pain. I think we also need to feel it from bottom up, so in the price, consumers, producers, and we see that as startups. I'm the founder of Primal Souls. We're a circular startup in the space of regenerative cork. And by definition, it's more expensive than our competition. So we see that in a daily challenge. We're competing in a market where our competition is not priced right, because they're not taking responsibility for the full product life cycle, such as we are. So it's very clear. I think we need to feel more pain, and we need to feel that ASAP, and that's really what's going to drive the change. So thank you.
Thanks so much. No pain, no gain, as they say. And would you like to then expand on the third one? And we're not doubting in any way that you contributed to this rating in any way. No, I'm joking.
No, I just made sure that our table voted for our actions. No, but I think the third one was very close to the heart of the companies represented, the investors as well. And I think Mathieu said it very well during the panel discussion. If we really want to channel institutional capital with a fiduciary duty attached to it into these nature-based solutions and nature-related, nature-positive investments, we need to make sure that they generate a market return. So for this to work out, we need blended finance structures, we need the public subsidies, we need philanthropic capital, we need insurance companies to take the risks, we need development finance institutions and so on to work together, public and private sectors, investors and corporates.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the contributions from this table. And maybe we'll come to one more, the common methodology. That's not from you. You did just put 3 in, right? Common methodology. Which table was that? Ah, okay. Over to you then. Please expand.
Yeah, I think this was very similar to your first one in some ways. The idea here was to create greater transparency and understanding about what different sectors of the economy's both impacts and dependency on nature are, so that you can, whether it's pain in the pocket or other ways of incentivizing behavior, you can actually have a common framework to do that in a fair and consistent way was sort of the core of what we were thinking at this table.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, there are so many ideas here. I'm wondering if we could do one on this next one, need for regulators to emphasize the importance of action and transformation. Emily at the back. Is there a mic there, or I can come to you? We will meet in the middle, Emily.
I'm so pleased with the next one because it allows me to say that for the last table, I think we just created it with the TNFD framework. So I hope that we've already delivered on number 4. So yeah, I'd love for anyone, especially Adele from GSK, to complement this. But this one bundles a few things. The importance that the focus on assessment and disclosure, which are critical pieces emphasized in the first top ones, does not crowd out the emphasis on the importance of action. And a bit of concern that in companies that a huge amount of skills and capacity is being now focused on that assessment and disclosure, which is in many ways a complementary piece, and it's something you and I have spoken about repeatedly, is the importance of keeping that focus on action and business transformation within the organization, but also across sectors, across value chains, so that we have enough space right now, given the urgency, not just to do that. And that needs to be in the context of a positive narrative. So we talked about the importance of keeping clear that there's the potential for positive outcomes through innovation, business transformation, not only mitigating negative impacts.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily, and all of you for contributing. I'm sure that we can share this full list, Natasha, with all the participants in this room. I like what you were saying. Also, good that as Emily was talking about disclosure, and this table wanted the transparency in the data, and to influence, the next one is action, 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 which indeed disclosure and reporting can't be, it's not the end in itself. It's a means to an end, and that end has to be action. I'm going to actually invite now Mr. Arnold Puech-Dalisac, please, President of the World Farmers Organization, because earlier in the conversation we talked about farmers, and action is really where, that's their key word, isn't it? Over to you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad speaking in the name of the farmers of the world. I represent 80 organizations from 55 countries, Farmers Federation mainly, and Farmers and Cooperative Federation. I want just to underline that for the farmer, it's at the farmer and at the forest manager to implement the decision we can make in favor of the biodiversity. And we need a clear message about that. If you have some technical interest on your farm, in your forest, you will do it. And it's important to share the experience and to share the solution. If you have no own interest, it's like we are like all the consumers in this world. We will not buy an electric car if we have not support for that. We will not use another way of traveling than than the car and use the train, for example, we can be more clean, more safe for our world if it's not cheap and competitive. But it's the same for the farmer. The sign of the market are too weak now. Really, if you make an effort for the biodiversity on your farm, if you plant hedges, if you plant trees, what is the interest for your business? Okay, you will have maybe a different landscape, but it's in fact it's a constraint for your job on your farm, and you have no interest if you have not the return on the other side. It's the same for the carbon. Sometime you have already a good effect, better soil, better productivity after a certain period of time. But in the other case, when you have already this good soil, why to continue to reduce my emission if I have no return? If I increase the risk in my production compared to my neighbors who will not adopt these methods, and we will continue to be competitive on the market. Really, the signs of the market are too weak. We have too few retailers. I don't say private company. A lot of private company, a lot of big company try to do something, but without the help of the retailers and finally the help of the consumers, it will be impossible to implement that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Excellent. So we're wrapping up now. My top 3 takeaways from this discussion. I mean, it was such a rich discussion, but number one, based on what also we just heard, is incentives. You know, where are the incentives? How are we going to drive this market? Incentives from the investor community, but what are the incentives for farmers, for consumers, etc.? We need to embed that value in everyday pain, no gain. The second is that in order to then scale that is through those systems changes and the policy requirements. And I'd just like to invite everyone here to contribute to those policy discussions. If governments don't hear from business directly, if everyone could please just come back into the room. Thank you so much. I was a school teacher previously. But we really need everyone's voice to help push for this policy ambition. And so we have a consultation, Business for Nature, to help inform what our priority policy asks on nature should be going into the CBD COP16 and beyond. So please help us shape that. It's open till the 1st of March, and it's also a good insight for you into what regulatory environment might look like in the future. So first incentive, second broader policy change, but then my third reflection was actually on the quality and the fluency and the maturity of this conversation. I mean, I have never seen, and I don't know how you all feel, but in a WEF context, in these conversations, over the past 3 years, we have just been increasing exponentially in the complexity that we now are no longer paralyzed to talk about. And I just find that really encouraging in this context. So well done to all of you and to all of us for pushing that along. So before I hand over to Nick Studer for some final remarks, I wanted to, of course, I promised that there were 2 winners. So we for the competition, of course, that we had earlier where you had to guess. So we have 2. So John Reves from WBCSD, and we have Arnaud, who's a global shaper at WEF. So come on up. Arnaud, given that, I feel like John was very happy to step down from the #1 prize. Then he had 2 prizes. Well, this is a book by Mark Benioff called Trailblazer. Have you read it?
No, I have not yet.
Well, you can now. So here, this is Trailblazer. Congratulations to you, Arnaud. Thank you so much, and enjoy it secondhand.
Thank you. Very sustainable. I appreciate that. I appreciate the sustainability.
Yes. And then, John, you get one of these very beautiful SDG pin that I picked up from Gold's House.
Well,
but
it's
sustainable wood, so there we go.
Well, that's great. So I gave mine away to a new Chinese member, so I'm very pleased to have it back. So thank you.
Excellent. So a real win-win everywhere. Please, over you two. Thank you for your leadership, Nick. Take it away.
Demonstrating the circular economy. So I've had to play many roles today. I am sadly not Akanksha Khatri, who is the leader of this program at the World Economic Forum. She's had to dash off to handle issues elsewhere. But I wanted to thank her for all of the WEF's leadership in this. Technically, I'm giving closing remarks on behalf of her and on behalf of the forum. So I wanted to start by thanking all of you. I completely second Ava's comments. I think the level of engagement and interaction has been fantastic. But I also wanted to thank you I think everyone should have to be a teacher. I'm married to a teacher. Everyone should have to be a teacher because the animation you brought into this room and the engagement you struck, I think, has been vital and central to the success of the session. So I'm just going to really try and amplify Business for Nature's message. I have 2 points for you. The stats at the beginning, 80% plus on both questions, are encouraging, but it does prove one thing. In the UK, we have this phrase of preaching to the choir. What it means is that you're already converted. But you know what? Choirs can sing. So my encouragement to all of you is to go out and sing, because based on the benchmarks represented on our table, World Benchmark Association, based on CDP and other organizations, if that had been a true reflection of our economies, it would at best have been 30% and probably lower. So I encourage you all to proselytize, to engage, as they've encouraged, with regulators, but also with peers, with suppliers, with the whole system. And how? Well, it's in the report. Assess, commit, transform, and disclose. If we all do that, we'll be in a better position this time next year. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us today.